Hey there, Derek Rydall here, and we're talking today about, a very profound and provocative subject, and hopefully I can break it down in very simple terms and maybe relieve you of a lot of mythological beliefs that have shrouded this concept and made us very afraid. And that is, what is evil? What is evil? And I'm going to say something here that for a lot of religious people, and maybe even just the average everyday person, is going to sound controversial, and I'm going to maybe get a lot of hate mail as a response. But the first thing is, there is no actual power or presence or reality of evil. There is no such thing as actual evil. Evil in a universe means one song. Life is one. Life is whole. Life is complete. There's one life, one power, one intelligence, one presence, one omni-activity that's operating everywhere in, through, and as everyone. There's only one. All the greatest mystics, the greatest philosophers, they've come to this same conclusion. There's one. There's only one. And so in this oneness, there cannot be competition, conflict, opposition, or otherness. So unless evil is all there is, it cannot exist. And if evil was all there is, life would have destroyed itself before it could have even come into being. But in fact, everywhere we look, we see signs everywhere of growth, of life, of flourishing, of abundance throughout all of nature. And so certainly that's not the principle of evil operating. And because there can only be one fundamental principle of life, it must be a principle of good. It must be a principle of growth, which is ultimately the nature of life. Pure goodness, pure growth, pure life, pure abundance. So what is evil? Well, we can play with it just by looking at the word. It's literally live spelled backwards. Take that in for a moment. The word evil is live spelled backwards. The word devil, lived spelled backwards. So what happens if you wire your electrical circuits backwards or in opposition to the principle of electroconductivity? Either nothing happens, you have no power, or you burn your house down. You would call that pretty bad, or an act of evil, or an act of some malevolent force, right? But it's not. You wired things backwards, right? If you get into a plane that's been built backwards from the laws of aerodynamics, it will either not get off the ground, or if you throw it off a mountaintop like a glider, it's going to crash and you will die. Now, is that evil? Is that because of your sins? Is that even because of your karma? No. You wired it, or you created it in opposition to the principle. If a saint gets aboard a plane that has been constructed against the laws of aerodynamics, it's still going to crash. Now you might say, well, Jesus walked on water and all that. There's an enlightened higher state where you defy all human and material principles. So that's not the point here. But if you're a great person and you stick your finger in a light socket, or the socket of a light bulb when it's turned on, you're going to get a shock or electrocuted. No matter how good of a person you are. Is that evil? Is that karma? Is that sin? No. You are living in opposition to principle. The bottom line is that life is principle. It's not personal. I know that's a hard one to understand. There is no God or power or presence or force that is personally dealing with you, in a sense of knowing your story and feeling bad for you and sad about your problems. I'm sorry to tell that to you, but I'm also really excited to tell you that it's a good thing. Because if that was so, life or God or the things we depend on would be whimsical. They'd be up for grabs. They would be changing all the time. But life is principle. Now there is a personal element. There is a love and a feeling and a connection and an intimacy, but it's being held in a structure of principle that never changes and that never will. It's principle. This is why in the Bible it says, God is no respecter of persons. He lets his rain fall on the saint and the sinner. His sun shines on the just and the unjust. What does that mean? It's telling you it's principle. It's telling you it's an unconditional love, an unconditional life, an unconditional creative force. The sun just shines. It doesn't know your history. It's not personal. All the laws of nature, all the laws of technology, electricity, success, wealth, health, they're all principles, and they don't know and they don't care about your personality. They don't know and they don't care about your history. They don't know and they don't care even about your karma or your religious experience or your past lives or whether Mercury is in retrograde. They only know I am, principle. If you plant a seed and you cultivate the right conditions, the law of emergence will grow it because it's a principle. You could be Hitler or you could be Mother Teresa. You're both going to get a plant. If you plant a weed, you'll get a weed, whether you're Hitler or Mother Teresa. You get it? It's principle. And that's why what I teach are principles. And that's why what you want to build your life on are principles. And if you want to know why bad things happen to good people, it's not because of any mysterious thing. It's because for whatever reason and in whatever way, they are either not organizing their life around certain important principles, or there is a powerful principle going on and they just have not understood the lesson or the blessing. And then you wonder, why do good things happen to bad people? Why do seemingly mean, selfish people get rich? Because at least in that area, they understand and apply principles for wealth creation or success. It's that simple and it's that hard to swallow. So evil is when we live life out of principle, when we live life out of alignment, when we live life from a belief that we're separate, that we're lacking, that we're limited, that something's missing, that something's broken, that something's wrong, and then we build a pattern, a habit, or a way of life based on that. If we build it based on lies and limitation, we are building our life on shifting sand, not on solid ground, and we will have a house that cannot stand. So evil isn't a force. Evil is the byproduct of living out of principle. It's why the saying, the love of money is the root of all evil, as I describe, that money is not wealth and abundance. It's a symbol of it, like the fruit on a fruit tree. But if you believe money is the actual wealth, which is out of principle, you will hoard it, you will fight for it, you will kill for it, you will die for it, you will do all kinds of crazy things for it, and you will produce negative or evil results. Not because money is evil, but because you're living out of alignment with the principle of wealth and abundance. So I invite you to become a student of truth, a student of principles in whatever area where you're experiencing negativity, bad stuff, or what you might call evil. And discover what is the underlying principles here. Where am I out of alignment with the principle? Just like the seed, where am I not cultivating the congruent conditions for that pattern or that principle? So I invite you to look at an area right now where you're experiencing that and become a student. More than you're struggling against the experience of the problem, become a student of the underlying principles of success in that area. And then create a plan and organize your life around practicing that. And watch as the negativity, the lack and limitation, and the seeming evil begins to dissolve. I hope this has been helpful. Can't wait to see what emerges for you. And until next time, live authentically, love unconditionally, and follow your destiny.